What up, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of the Banski Show. And today we have a very special guest. The legendary Wendy Day sits with us and talks about the history of her not-for-profit rap coalition, as well as her for-profit organization's Power Moves, and she announces her exciting brand new incubator, Artist-Centric. We talk about that and more in episode 4 of the Banski Show, so please enjoy my conversation with Wendy Day. Just want to welcome you to the Banski Show. Thank you, Wendy Day, for joining us.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
I'm so stoked to have you. I've been following your work for a while. Wendy Day, for those listening, is a prominent hip-hop figure. She has over 25 years of experience in the music industry, helping artists pretty much pave the way to financial independence and success in the music industry. And you are a very special person because I think you are one of a kind. And
Thank you.
When I think of Wendy Day,
I wish that wasn't true though. Like I wish more people were artist-centric.
The type of people that aren't in the limelight, right? Or at least they're not. That's not their goal. Their goal is, it seems to me like the goal is to help people. And when I think of Wendy Day, I think of a hip hop ambassador. I think of someone pretty much fighting for justice since back in the day. I think of the Cash Money record deal, but I'm not going to go and say what I think. I want to allow you to introduce yourself. Wendy Day, would you give us the pleasure of just telling us a little bit about yourself and to those who may not be familiar?
Absolutely. I'm Wendy Day. I run Rap Coalition, which is a not-for-profit artist advocacy organization. And then I also run 2 for-profit companies. One is called Power Moves, and Power Moves is a consulting company that helps artists make money with their music, mostly rappers. And in the process of building an incubator or accelerator for artists called Artist-Centric. And that is to help artists make money with their music as well. But that's more for the artists that don't already have investors on board.
Awesome. And can you tell me about when you started Power Moves and Rap Coalition? Because I know, like I said, you have over 25 years of experience. So I'd love to hear how more about you individually, and first of all, how you got into rap music and the rap music industry so early on in the game. Yeah,
really early. I started listening to rap in 1980. I went to a concert at University of Pennsylvania, and I was there to see the Psychedelic Furs, which was like a new wave rock band. But the opening act was Grandmaster Flash and the Furious Five. And I fell in love with the energy and the passion in their music, and then just started to like listen to anything that I could get my hands on that was rap oriented in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which is where I lived. Eventually I moved to New York. I moved to New York in 87, and I started Rap Coalition in 1992. And for me, I felt like I was really late to the party because I had been listening to rap for 12 years at that point. It was very much in its infancy stage. I didn't know that at the time, but I came to this as a fan of the music, the culture, graffiti, breakdancing, b-boying, whatever you want to call it, battling. Like I just love the entire culture of hip hop. And I realized early on that artists were being taken advantage of. And I set up Rap Coalition, the not-for-profit, to help people get out of bad deals and do it without them having to pay anything. Because most artists, when they're in a messed up situation, they don't really have the money to get free.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started Power Moves a few years later because I realized that just getting people out of bad deals wasn't enough. I wanted to be able to help them get into good deals. So I started helping them build leverage so they could get to a point where they were already making money independently. So if and when a label came along, they would have to give them a really fair deal.
That's awesome. So Power Moves came after Rap Coalition was
In
founded.
reaction to it.
And
Yes.
when you're telling the story, I couldn't help but think of you were introduced by an opening act, and so the opening act does have some kind of influence.
It did. It absolutely did back then. Um, if they had to pay for that slot, I don't think they should have done it.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there were a whole bunch of people at that show that were like, "Oh wow, this is great."
Yeah.
Um, I think that I may be the outlier in this one. You know?
Awesome. Did you have any interest in like rapping yourself or doing hip
Oh,
hop,
no,
like tagging or anything like that?
no.
Any of
Just
Okay.
watching and
Just-
being, an outsider looking in.
Mhm. What kind of music did your parents listen to in your household?
My parents didn't really listen to music at all. My dad later on, my dad left when I was 11, so I really got to know him when I became more of an adult, like in my college years and after that. And he was a huge Frank Sinatra fan, but I don't
Mm.
remember music playing in the house at all. I was always drawn to music and I always cared about music. I remember riding around on my bike as a kid. I was probably somewhere around 6, 7, 8, 9, like somewhere in there. And I remember strapping a little transistor radio to the handlebars of my bike. I had the banana handlebars,
Mhm.
and I remember strapping a radio with string to my bike so that I could have music wherever I went.
That's awesome. Straight MacGyvered that to the bicycle.
Yes. Too bad we didn't have duct tape in the house.
Yeah, that would have been a lot easier just and then reattach it every time. Um,
Exactly.
so did
Exactly.
you mentioned you went to college? Did I hear that correctly?
Yes, I went my undergraduate degree is in graphic design, and then I have a master's degree in African American studies, and I have an MBA in marketing.
Oh wow. Graphic design,
Over
African
overeducated.
American studies, and marketing. So that actually kind of paints the picture. Makes it make more sense of.
It really does, and what's funny is I didn't realize that until, like, a couple years ago. I realized, like, after I got the master's degree in AFAM studies, really as a white person, it qualified me to either teach or write, and I didn't want to do either. And that's really funny because today I teach artists and I write articles and books about, how to win in the music industry,
Mhm.
which is kind of ironic because I was avoiding that at all
Yeah.
costs. Um, but when I got my MBA, I realized that I'm very entrepreneurial.
Mhm.
And I also realized that one of the ways for people of color to get out of the struggle is to start their own businesses. So I always knew at some point I would be helping folks start their own businesses. It just never dawned on me that it would be rappers.
How long did it take? And like, what was there an event that triggered that thought of realizing that the music industry is taking advantage of rappers and entertainers that don't read their contracts?
It wasn't really one thing. It was a culmination of things. It was, reading in Source magazine that some of my favorite artists were in messed up contracts, like Eric B and Rakim and X Clan. And back then they were absolutely my favorites, So it was devastating for me to hear that the people whose music I loved were in unfair contractual situations. And then in New York, I took a class about the music business at the New School, and Burt Padell was the teacher. Burt Padell was like an accountant to the stars, and that's
Hmm.
really where I learned how imbalanced and unfair the music industry is.
That name sounds. Does he passed away?
He has passed away, yes. And there was a song that Biggie had that where a lyric said, "Stash more cash than Burt Padell in hell."
Well, I do remember reading the article when his passing happened. So I think I know who you're talking about. That was the teacher of this class.
Yes. Yes. And at that point in time, he was like the most prominent accountant, to exist. He was working with Luther Vandross, Albie Shore, Madonna, which the equivalent of Madonna back then would be like Drake today, just to
Mhm.
put it into
Yeah.
contemporary understanding.
What an amazing opportunity.
It was amazing.
Especially straight talk from the best in the industry. I'm actually an accountant by day, uh,
Hmm.
as 9 to 5. That's how I got this background that you see. So I'm one of those. I don't know just a little bit about myself. I'm a rapper myself. So I do this podcast though to one talk to amazing people like yourself and have the platform to do so, and then also see if I can discuss some strategies, music marketing tips, anything that can help
That can help
musicians.
other people.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
myself, which that's my target audience is just other independent musicians like myself. And
Yay. That's my target audience too.
awesome, awesome. Oh, random. Well, actually, let's stay on topic. I want to because I really want to tell your story because I think it's so amazing.
Thank
Um,
you.
you, all right, so you mentioned you had the class, which is so awesome. I didn't know that. Uh, and then they can you just highlight just some of the topics they discussed there, just real.
Yes, it was basically a class about how to build a career in pop music. And Bert would bring other speakers in, like he brought in an attorney to talk about contracts in the music business. He brought in Guy Osiri, who was managing the Talking Heads at the time, still does, I think. Um, and the speakers, it was I want to say it was 16 weeks, and we probably had about 10 different speakers that came in. And it was just really interesting because I learned the different roles that existed in the music business that I didn't know about, because it wasn't at that point in time, I wasn't really trying to get into music. I was just taking classes in subjects that interested me, trying to figure out what to do with my life, right?
Right.
And this was the class that was of most interest to me. And it was especially interesting because Bert handled so many rappers that I looked up to, like Biggie, and he handled Puff. And ironically, Puff took his class the year before me. And at the very beginning of the class, Bert mentioned that he had worked, with Sean Puffy Combs, and Puffy was really making moves at that point. This was in 92.
Mm-hmm.
And he said to the class, it was a class of maybe 100 students. It was a very popular class. And I remember the very first night, it was a night class. The very first night, he said, um, only one person in this class is going to succeed out of everybody, because that's how the music business works. And I remember thinking, oh, he's talking about me. And it wasn't an arrogance. It wasn't, and at that point in time, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I just knew that he was talking about me, as crazy as that sounds. And I probably am the only person from that one class.
Yeah.
And he mentioned that in the year before, the semester before, not the semester, the year before, it was only taught in the fall. Um, Puffy was in that class, and he was the one to sort of excel from there. And I just knew it was me.
That's so dope. I that's so dope. You just
Well,
know
it's only
things like that.
dope because I can sit here and say that there may be 99 other people that took that class that also thought that, right? But
It's
they just don't get to sit here and say that.
yeah, no, for sure. It's funny because my accounting teachers like they always used to say that too. They would start the class off saying like a third of you guys or like three 2/3 of you guys didn't fail. And then
Yeah,
just and right off the
yeah,
bat, just people like what did I sign up for?
exactly. Because you got to be very exacting to be an accountant. Like you've got to really focus on perfection. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah, you can't leave any penny will stick out. That will be
absolutely,
out of balance.
absolutely, and drive you crazy to find it.
Right. So the Rap Coalition, I was reading your website and I was actually surprised to see all the names on the board of advisory.
Hmm.
In particular, I was surprised to see Brother Lynch Hung, which is a rapper that I grew up listening to. I'm from the
Oh, that's
Bay
cool.
Area,
Okay.
so yeah, I'm in
Okay.
Santa Rosa. Listen to Mac Dre. Oh, I'll tell you right now. I grew up most influenced by Tupac since like 12 years old. That's what I was listening to him, and
Oof,
then Mac Dre. Those are my
Jay.
those two biggest influences. But then
So
obviously,
if you've ever seen my book cover, it's shot like on stage and it's looking out into the audience, and the back of the rapper is actually Mr. Fab.
oh yeah, yeah, I know what book
Isn't
cover
that
you're
cool?
talking about. I didn't. I always thought like
Mr.
I was
Fab.
what? Who is that rapper? And then I just never like.
Mr. Fab.
That's so funny. Actually, I'm trying to get him. I'm see if he wants to hop on this podcast too. Hopefully, one day. But yeah, that's awesome. No, he's dope.
He is dope.
Um, and then who was the first member of your board advisory at Rap
Tupac.
Coalition?
I have the advisory because of Tupac. When I was coming up, I was about 6 years in, maybe 4 years in, when I met Tupac, and we became fast friends because our personalities are quite similar. And he had suggested that I set up a board of advisors just because he thought that as a white woman in hip hop, I would move better, stronger, and faster if I were co signed by rappers. And I didn't want to take that path. Like, I was really kind of against that.
Mm-hmm.
And he very nicely said, okay, you idiot. If you're not going to do that, you're just going to struggle for years and get frustrated. So he's like, let me help you. So he was the first member to my board. And then the second one was Chuck D. And then the third was Vinny from Naughty by Nature. And then it just snowballed from there.
Not even nature, another huge influence for me.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
It's really funny because today, like, I don't really need the board anymore, so I
Mm-hmm.
don't really have a board of advisors.
Mm-hmm.
But every now and again, somebody will call me and be like, "Hey, what are you up to? What do you need? Like, how can I help you?" And I love that because
Mm-hmm.
it's from the relationships that I made, 29 years ago. And that's really, really, really cool. It just shows the importance of relationships in the music industry.
It
What
really.
it, what it really did to help me was really valuable for two reasons. One, I was really helping either artists that were getting jerked or up and coming artists. So I really didn't know the needs of a group like Public Enemy or an artist at the level of like an Eminem, right? And what the board did was it gave me an opportunity to understand what the needs were at that level. And then the second thing it did was it gave me the opportunity to introduce successful rappers to new up and coming rappers. And the best example I can give you was the relationship that Ice-T had with Smooth the Hustler. And it was so beneficial because Smooth was able to call him and ask him questions whenever he had them. So people couldn't really get over on Smooth the Hustler because he had a mentor that he could go to and say, "Hey, this is my situation. This is what I'm going through. How do you think I should handle it?" And that's so valuable.
Yeah, it truly is to have someone that you can bounce ideas off of, someone
Yes.
that has the experience that you may not have, that can guide you. So
Yes.
so it sounds like Tupac knew about the importance of relationships,
Yes.
obviously, and he was
Yes.
just trying to teach you that. And
Yes, it taught me so much. And then there was stuff that he wanted me to do. Like, he hated that I didn't charge people at Rap Coalition because his
mhm,
his argument was always, if an artist can buy weed and an artist can buy the newest pair of kicks,
mhm,
then they should be able to pay for the services that I offer. And for me, by the time an artist came to me, they were kind of like they were broke. They were like at the end of, or, they were frustrated beyond words. And I just didn't want to become another person that was like,
right,
okay, I'll help you, but there's a cost,
right.
you know?
But then there's that psychological aspect that people don't value anything that comes for free.
Exactly.
And
I'll say
There's,
this though, I feel very valued in the music industry.
well, I know that you know use Power Moves is for profit. So, and
And
you
was super expensive.
really actually no, I've read a little bit about that. I kind of know the numbers of your story. Would you care to share about that?
Yeah, for what we do, for me, it takes a budget of 150,000 to help an artist market and promote themselves to a point where there's money coming back in to their company or their career, and then we charge 100,000 for what we do. So, in order for us to be of help to an artist like hands-on,
Mm-hmm.
it takes about 2 years, a year and a half to 2 years to get them to the point where they need to
Mm-hmm.
be, and
Yeah,
they need to have an investor because they need a budget of at least a quarter mil.
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
But we build real companies. Like
Yeah.
we're not for like the guy that just likes to rap on weekends or the guy just, you know, we build careers for
Well, yeah. I
people,
mean,
for millionaires.
all one has to do is look at your resume and know that you're the real deal, and you're not messing with hobbyists.
No,
You're
no.
dealing with businessmen
And
and
it's
and
exactly,
women.
and it's mostly the hobbyists where they hear the price and they go, ah,
Hmm. No, it's I think it's a maturity thing because it's yeah. When you mature in your business, you realize that it takes money to make money, especially with
exactly.
marketing. I
Especially today, it's so oversaturated out here. There's so many rappers and so many producers and so many singers.
mhm,
And in today's world, talent is not enough. I mean, it's never been enough.
yeah.
My whole career, I'm 29 years into this. There's never been a time where I've seen somebody get signed just because of their talent. Or
Hmm.
I've not seen them succeed because they got signed because of their talent.
Hmm.
There's got to be something else there to, like an image or a gimmick, as much as I hate gimmicks, or there's got to be something else there.
That's a good. Actually, I had a question, so a good segue
Was
is
that a good segue? Okay, good.
what do you look for? Oh, I should have just segued instead of saying that. What do you look for when you take on a client? You want to.
I look for talent first and foremost. I want to
Hmm.
make sure that it doesn't mean that I have to like them. I
Hmm.
want to make sure that they're making music that is marketable, meaning there's a mass amount of people that will like it. And it's got to be masses because if you're investing $250,000 into your career, the goal is to make back more than $250,000, right? It's just
Hmm.
logic. So I look for artists where I can make them at least a million plus back.
Hmm.
And then the second thing I look for is their level of hustle, their grind. I prefer to work with somebody that's already out there moving so that I can see that they're actually going to work.
Hmm.
I don't want a client that's going to hire me and then sit back like this and say, okay, wake me when I'm famous.
Yeah.
I really want somebody that's going to go out and work. And then the last thing I look at is somebody that actually has the budget
Hmm.
because not everybody that says they have $250,000 really does.
How do you verify that they have that intrinsic value? I mean, all right, the music, that's a must. You have to have good music. But the intrinsic value, a lot of people say and act like they are, hardworking rappers and they want it as much as the other one does. But
That's always been the hardest for me to differentiate. Like even today, I have clients where I thought, okay, this is going to be like a super hardworking individual,
mhm,
and they're not. They're a little bit lazy, which always shocks me. And for what we do, like the service we offer, it's very hands-on. So I learn very quickly who really wants it and who doesn't.
mhm,
The hard part is keeping up the motivation level for somebody that's not as motivated, for example, as I am.
yeah,
If I'm out working you, there's a problem.
right. Have you ever had to fire a client?
Once,
Yeah. I mean, it's just like employees, really. I mean, not employees, but like any other contract employment agreement, you have to carry the weight on both ends.
Exactly. And it's funny because the funny part about me having to fire a client, and that was in 2014, was that the next client that I took on was really difficult to work with. And I hung in there because I had just fired my last client. And I didn't want to be that chick that fires clients.
Right.
And that was really cool. That client was Trouble that I worked with after the client. I'm not going
Awesome.
to say who I fired because
Yeah.
he's actually kind of bubbling. But um, with Trouble, when the going got difficult, I stayed. I didn't leave because I didn't want it to be like a repeat of what I had just done. Like if I fire one client, it makes sense to me. But if I have to fire two, then it's me. The problem isn't
Right.
the client, the problem's me.
Makes
And I'm
sense.
really thankful for that because we were able to get Trouble to, millionaire status.
Yeah,
It took
Trouble's
four and
dope.
a half years, but it was worth it.
I actually learned about him from watching your videos.
Oh wow, that's cool.
Yeah,
That's cool. Yeah, his charisma's through the roof. Like he was
and
a no-brainer to me.
it seems like he's just getting started. Like
Yes,
there's still
yes.
more. We're gonna see more of him in the future for
I,
sure.
I I hope so. I hope so. I hope he does more. Like he's aging right now, so he's got to make moves quickly. But it's not my
Mhm.
problem anymore.
Right, right.
I
You
was done
fulfilled
with.
your part.
I did. Yeah, I got him
Yeah.
signed to Interscope, and he got an amazing multi-million-dollar deal. So once he signed to Interscope, like he was off my plate and on to the next.
Hmm. What do you recommend for someone like myself that knows I have a talent, I want to share my music, and I just recently realized, hey, I need to get my business in order, and I need to make as much money as I possibly can with my music if I'm going to make it.
Yes.
Someone with a meager budget, I don't have thousands of dollars. I have 95, as you know. What do you suggest? Like I focus on? Is it just making music? Oh, and by the way, my brother is my producer, so I get free
Okay.
beats. So
Woo!
yeah, which is awesome, and he's really dope. So that's also dope. Um, just curious, like, because I know people may not be in that situation with the beats, but take away that. All right, what should they do to like? What's like the first thing, most important thing they should focus on
Well,
to make money as soon as
well,
possible
they
in their career?
they have to have great music, but if you've got a limited budget, you've got to figure out how to allocate the funds, right? Because you can't just make great music and then not market and promote it. The marketing and the promotion of it is so key and so important.
Do you think that the street team? Because I know when I first learned about your material, you were talking a lot about the street team. Do you think that's just as important today, or is it now like 100% digital?
It's not 100% digital. You've really got to be out there shaking hands, kissing babies, meeting people. It even during COVID, like it's really mattered. I've watched artists that just do this digitally for the
Hmm.
past year, and their buzz isn't as solid, their foundation isn't as solid as it is when they go out and start moving around. But I always build the buzz online first, and
Hmm.
I do that through Google ads, Facebook ads, YouTube ads, um, YouTube playlist, Spotify playlist, SoundCloud playlists.
Hmm.
Um, with some artists, we do internet radio. It's so hard to give advice because it depends on the artist. Like if your market is younger, I'm going to suggest you do TikTok influencer campaigns. If your market is a little bit more underground, I'm going to suggest that you do internet radio because that's where the real hip hop heads live. College radio and internet radio still kind of matter. If you're more mainstream, then I'm going to suggest you get out quicker and start moving around and do like um, college tours. Get out there and start embracing people in, I call it a 5 hour driving radius, but it really depends on what your budget is. If your budget is not healthy, you should just be working your city and a couple cities around you, a couple towns around you.
Yeah.
If you've got more money, then you can go and do a 3 state or a 5 state, marketing segment.
Hmm. Yeah, that campaign mindset is another thing I learned from you. Is like never really thought about spreading my music that way.
And
And
you got to be consistent with it. Like you can't just do it for 2 months and stop. And that's why I say that it for me it takes $150,000 because I don't let the pressure up. I keep releasing music and marketing it
hmm
for a year and a half, 2 years. With Trouble, it took 3.5 years.
hmm
We didn't stop, we didn't let up. And you can't, because if you stop, like to go raise more money, or you stop because you're tired, when you start back up, even if it's just a couple months later, it's like starting back at ground zero. And it's as if you wasted all of that budget that you've already spent. You've
hmm
got to keep up the pressure. And it's a singles market today, so you want to promote as much music repetitively as you can.
yeah, yeah. And you gotta the singles market. I agree with that statement. And what do you think about the pre-saving that goes along with the singles release? Um,
I think that's important. A lot of clients that I work with do that. A lot of clients don't. So it's really a personal choice. But I just watched a client get something like 1,500 pre-saves, and it really made his streaming numbers go up on Apple and Spotify. And
mhm,
it was kind of a small thing to do in order
yeah,
to watch his numbers, go up exponentially.
yeah. That's what I like about DistroKid, because they have that hyper follow. I was
Yes.
I wanted to ask, is there any other service that has that similar hyper follow function that is so?
Not that I know of, but I'm not too familiar with the entry level distributors because most of my clients are going through STEM and Create Music Group, so they're at a different level of distribution.
hmm
But I am a big fan of DistroKid. I like DistroKid a lot.
Yeah, I just started using them, so I'm learning about their services, and I learned about STEM from you mentioning it too, and you have to
Yeah.
apply to that. That's pretty cool. I have to,
It's next level.
yeah.
Yeah. Until you're
So
streaming millions of streams, they're not going to take you on as a client. They're for like real record labels, you know.
that's dope.
Like Quavo's label comes through there, Future's label comes through there.
Okay. Oh,
Yeah.
cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's dope.
They're for
Uh,
like that next step.
yeah, no, for sure. When you got already like got the fan base,
Exactly.
how does one pull an artist out of a bad deal? Um,
It's different for every artist. I can't give you one set answer.
mhm,
It takes a lot of negotiation. Um, it's most effective with the major labels. It's very hard for me to break a contract with little Ray Ray down the block because little Ray Ray just won't take the call, right?
mhm,
But a major label has to take the call because they're in the business of being a record label. So it involves a lot of negotiation sometimes, and it really depends on the artist's attitude, because if the label feels like the artist is an asshole and they're the reason they're not succeeding, they're less inclined to let them go than if they feel like, you know what, we really did kind of drop the ball, and we're not interested in this artist anymore because maybe his A&R guy left the label and went someplace else.
yeah,
Like there's a lot of reasons that the relationship doesn't work. So if it's more amicable, it's a lot easier than if the artist is just really difficult and wants out of their deal.
mhm. It seems like in today's world, the main benefit of getting a record deal with these bigger label companies is just to network with other big rap musicians that have signed
I think
onto
it's
their.
more I think it's more financial. I think the reason that artists sign to labels today is because they don't have investors and they need somebody to put up the money. When you start doing this
Mhm,
yourself, after a while you realize how much money it takes,
mhm,
and it's a little frustrating if you're not able to secure, like I said, for me it takes 150 grand. So when artists start spending tens of thousands of dollars and realize that they're not even making it to the first rung of the ladder, it
mhm.
gets a little frustrating. And I think at that point, the attitude becomes, okay, I'm not able to do this on my own. I need some sort of funding. And rather than seeking an investor, they think the easy path is to sign to a label. I don't agree with that. I think it's easier to find an investor than it is to sign to a label.
And you talked about in Clubhouse, which is you have another one coming up too, the 15th on the
I
15th.
do on the 15th.
Yeah, I got to tune
Definitely.
in.
Will you remind me to go and schedule that? I forgot. I meant to do it last night and I forgot. Thank you for reminding me.
No problem. I'll definitely try and make it myself. You mentioned making a business plan and
Yeah.
to in order to like set the groundwork to prove that you actually have a maybe a profitable, viable business. You have a plan. You have a if you have financiers, you can list that, and that convinces other investors to maybe jump on board or believe in your
Yes.
success. And
And it also, it's just great for the artist. It's a roadmap. So it forces you to really think stuff out, instead of just making music and then saying, okay, I'm going to go throw this up on the internet and buy some Facebook ads and then sit back and wait
mhm,
to see what happens. It actually forces you to really consider, okay, what am I going to do? How am I going to reach people? Who are the people I'm trying to reach? What do they do? How are they reachable? And then how am I going to pay for this? And then once I pay for it, how's the money going to come back in? When's it going to come back in? It forces you to really take this seriously and consider who, what, why, when, and how.
in each dollar and where is it going and how's it?
Yes.
What's the ROI?
Yes. How's it
How
going to come back in?
how did how
And
do
why?
how would you advise some independent musician approach an investor? Like, what would you say? Like, is it just like your rich uncle or something like that
It
for the most
usually
time?
is. I've got so many independent clients, over the years, and everybody has a different story. Joyner Lucas met his investor at a strip club. He was performing there, and his investor was just sitting there drinking at the bar, and he was there almost every night, and that's how they met. Um, Other clients have met people like through their parents, like their parents' friends that supported their career. Um, I've seen artists build their business credit, and I don't recommend this because I don't think you should build business credit to start a rap career. But one of my clients is he's got great business credit, and that's how he's funding his career. Another one of my clients started a trucking company, and he uses the money from that. I've had clients that flip real estate and really flip real estate, not the euphemism for selling weed, where you say, "Oh, I sell weed, but I'm in real estate."
I'd
I
never heard that one.
realized that it's big here in Atlanta. There's a lot of guys that actually flip real estate and then use the money they make flipping real estate to pay for either their career or the career of somebody around them.
hmm hmm That makes sense. So it's like a mixture of good music, hustle, and some kind of financing, whether that's yourself or someone
Yes.
who believes in you.
And maybe a little bit of luck too. I think luck
Mhm.
is important as well.
Yeah, and then of course people like yourself that are teaching
And
the
somebody that knows how to do it. Yeah,
yeah.
you need somebody on your team that can tell you, okay, here are the steps to do it.
hmm
And that's why I make the free videos that I make on my YouTube channel,
Yeah,
because I realize not everybody can afford to put up $250,000. So I try to make videos for people that want to do this on their own and don't really have the budgets to do it correctly. I don't think money should be the deciding factor of whether somebody makes it or not. So
right.
I try to be as helpful as possible and give as much free info.
Well, you definitely do. And thank you again for that on behalf of all
Happy to do it.
musicians.
It's
How,
youtube.com/this is Wendy Day.
oh, and you did the Inspiration 2021 kickoff, I think in January or
I
February,
did. January 1st, yeah.
and you've been
I try to
posting.
post the video every night. There was a couple of days where I missed it just because my schedule's a little insane right now.
hmm
But for the most part, I post on Instagram TV every day, and then the following day, I try to put them up on YouTube. I'm probably about 2 weeks behind right now on YouTube.
I
But this
noticed.
weekend I'll put it. Yeah, sorry. This
No, no,
weekend I'll put them
it,
all up,
I don't
and
think it.
I'll get my shit
It
together.
actually is kind of nice because it was different content than what your Instagram shows. So even though it's staggered in timing, it's different content. So
It's actually
it
the
was
same
nice.
content. It's the Instagram videos just uploaded to YouTube. So I try to post a video like I think yesterday I posted about Facebook and Instagram.
Hmm.
So in a perfect world today, I would be uploading that Facebook and Instagram video to YouTube so that people that don't catch the video on Instagram can go to YouTube.
Yeah.
And then a lot of people just binge watch them because they're only like 7 to 10 minutes long. So there's folks that wait till Sunday and they'll go and binge watch
Hmm.
the entire week of videos.
That's awesome. Yeah, I need to go back and watch myself and
Yeah,
binge
I need to
watch.
post them. Man.
So what? No, no, not at all. Actually, what I meant was like, even though it's the same content, it's staggered. So it's someone who's not keeping up with everything, and they just
Right.
check. It's still different.
Yes.
If they check both, they would find different videos at that point in time. But
Correct. I see what you're
what
saying. Yes.
what is your routine look, your daily routine look like? Because you're a very very busy woman. Um,
Every day is different. It's so hard for me to give you like one day I might be at a photo shoot, the next day I might be at a video shoot, the following day I might be negotiating a deal with Def Jam. That was this past week. My staff is behind me laughing. I
awesome. Yeah. How do you keep track? I guess you have staff that helps you kind of
have
stay
an
organized.
amazing team. Yes. Yeah, I have
Awesome.
an amazing team.
Are you in your offices right now, or are you at home?
No, nope, I'm in the office.
Oh, cool.
Yep, 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 yep.
Oh, hello everybody. That's awesome. I want to jump back a little bit. As I mentioned, one of my hugest inspirations is Tupac, and I just have to ask, how did you meet Tupac?
I met Tupac. He was in a really fucked up situation in New York, a legal situation. He was going to court and he was about to be sentenced, and something happened at Quad Studio, and I knew he was out on the East Coast, like by himself, and I knew he felt like alone and out there. And I had a great relationship at the time and still do with the Nation of Islam. So I called Brother Arthur from the Fruit of Islam and I asked him, you know, he's going to be sentenced. He was going to be sentenced the following day. Could you guys just protect him? And he agreed to do it. And he and a couple of other guys that are Fruit of Islam went and just protected him until he went to court and was sentenced. And then, he went to Rikers. And he wrote me a letter. I don't know who told him that I did that, but somebody told him because he wrote me a letter from Rikers saying, thank you for doing that. It's really nice to know that I have a fan out there that would care enough about me to do that. And I'm kind of all about truth.
Mhm.
And I wasn't a fan. I was not a fan of Tupac. To be honest with you, I didn't even like him.
Really?
So
You
I
didn't
wrote
like
back.
that? You hadn't
So
met him at this point, right?
no, I had seen him. I knew who he was. His
Okay.
music was okay. It wasn't great. I thought he was talented, but I thought he chose really shitty beats, to be honest.
Okay.
That was my opinion, right?
Yeah.
And I wrote him back and said, yo, homeboy, I didn't do this because I'm a fan. I did this because you're a rapper and I run Rap Coalition and I felt like you needed somebody to help you, so I helped you. And I said, to be honest with you, you're kind of a douchebag. Like, dude, you're loud, you're obnoxious. I used to go to events. I used to live near a club called the Palladium. It was right down the street. It was like a block away from my house.
Hmm.
And I used to frequent there because, they had a hip hop night. And I'd be standing like on the VIP line and he'd come up like behind me making so much noise and he would have like 50 people with him and he was just loud and obnoxious wherever he went to the point where I'd get offline and go home. It's like I just don't want to be around that kind of energy,
Hmm.
you know? And I told him that in the letter, and I thought, okay, that's done. And then a week later, a letter came, and I saw the return address, and I thought, oh shit, here here it
Uh-oh.
comes. I just went to war with this kid in prison. And I opened the letter and I read it, and he was so cool and he was so kind. And I was impressed by that because he didn't, in hip hop, we come back at you. So if somebody says, fuck you, we're like, yeah, fuck you. We get up in your face. And he didn't do that. He's like, I understand exactly what you mean by that. It's been to the detriment of my career. And I just want you to know that's not really who I am. Like I have many different facets of my personality, just like I'm sure you do, just like everybody does. And he was so intelligent and he was so kind that I was like, wow, like I have to rethink him. I can't just assume this is who he is because that's my little slice of what I see,
Mm-hmm.
and what the media tells us. And he was very, he explained to me about the media and how it hit the media that he shot these cops in Atlanta or shot a cop in Atlanta in the ass and how he had this fight with directors. And he told me the stories behind each of those situations, even though I hadn't mentioned them, but he knew that's what I was talking about.
Mm.
And when I read his take on it, I'm like, okay, first of all, he's really fucking intelligent. And then I realized that he cared what I thought. So I did what I do for most rappers when they're incarcerated. I sent him a box of books. I sent him Machiavelli the Prince. I sent him Black Boy. I sent him Native Son. I just sent him a bunch of books that were like my favorite books. I sent him Elijah Muhammad, How to Eat to Live. I sent him Afrocentricity by Dr. Molefi Asante. I just sent him books that I liked. And
Mm-hmm.
he and I we had the same taste. I didn't know this at the time. And then he lost his package privileges pretty quickly from smoking weed in prison.
Oh.
So I wasn't able to send him any more books, but we did correspond. We were like pen pals. So we were writing back and forth when he negotiated the deal with Death Row. He didn't send me a copy of it, but he was telling me like what was in the deal and I was giving him advice because at that point I had just done the Master P deal. I had done Twista's deal. I'd seen a lot of contracts just because I was breaking a lot of contracts. So I gave him a lot of advice. I didn't think he should sign to Death Row, but I understood why he was, and I understood what his ambition was. His goal was to deliver 3 albums and then start his own label. And I was in the process of shopping that label when he was killed. I had written the business
Wow.
plan for it and we're shopping it.
Really?
It was
Wow.
called Euthanasia.
Euthanasia, yes.
Mhm.
I'm aware, yes. And the logo was like an archangel with kind of like a machine gun or like kind of
I never saw the
ammo.
logo. I never saw the logo. I never got the logo.
Oh,
So
okay.
there wasn't actually a logo for it that I saw when he died. I'm sure he had sketches of it,
Mhm.
and I'm sure he had copies. Like he thought everything out, but I didn't have it for the business plan. We also weren't finished yet. We weren't finished with the plan.
Yeah, wow. That's it's heartbreaking, I'm sure. And when you guys were just about to take off and then his untimely demise.
I got to tell you that I didn't think he would die. Like when he got shot, I even FedExed a get well card to the hospital. Like, it never crossed my mind that he would die.
Mhm.
So when I heard that he died, I was like, wait, what? Like it just devastated me. I did not see it coming, even though he had been shot like what, like 7 times or 13 times or whatever it was. It never crossed my mind he would die.
Yeah, I think it was 7 times. That's crazy. Wow, what an amazing story. Thank you for sharing that. Do you still think that he made a wrong decision by signing with Death Row?
No, I totally understand why he did it.
Yeah. And he had the marketing down. Like that's one thing I
Yeah,
learned from
and the work
Tupac.
ethic.
The
Yeah,
work ethic, I'm like
yeah.
obviously the best. I mean, I don't really see anyone comparing, but the image of the thug image, and when I learned that, like, oh, that was just an image, like he did that on purpose to garnish, to pretty much build his brand,
Hmm.
and it was just like, dude, this is genius.
Hmm.
And
Yeah, because he was not a gangster at all.
right, right, and the fact of just embracing the rap life, the rapper. You're a rapper. This is a an image. Just you embrace people, musician listeners. They want to listen to someone who embraces their identity and and truly is who they say they are. You know,
He was authentic.
yeah, that's awesome. Do you still have the letters?
Yes.
Awesome. That's amazing.
I still have
Um,
his phone number in my phone.
so what?
Have his phone number in my phone.
Oh wow.
Pimp
That's
C too. Proof. I have his phone number.
oh my god.
Yeah.
There's got to be a part two. You have way too many, way too much history. Um, how do you feel about? Because I know you support rappers that have been incarcerated and going through the system. With the recent release of Bobby Shmurda, how do you feel about his recent release from prison? And do you have any contact with him?
I do not. I'm always excited when folks are released from prison because I just think our prison system is really unjust and fucked up. So anytime somebody comes out of the belly of the beast, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Um, he is somebody that I have sent books to, but I didn't correspond with him.
Okay. Yeah.
Not for
That's
any reason other than I'm just busy.
sure.
But
Yeah.
almost every rapper that is out here that I send books to, it's
Mhm.
just it's just what I do.
That's so dope. And the fact that you gave Tupac the Prince Machiavelli, which
Mhm,
obviously went on to change his name to Machiavelli,
mhm.
and
It inspired an album.
yeah, inspired him.
It's funny. I did the same thing with Pimp C, and my intention isn't to inspire. My intention is to help people educate themselves. So I send the books that impacted me, and this was long after Tupac's death. But the 48 Laws of Power is such a great book that I
Yeah.
send that to like that's one of the first books I send to every person that I know that's incarcerated because it teaches you how other people think, and that's so important.
I love that book. Robert
Me
Greene,
too.
and
Yep.
great author. It into the caverns, the dark caverns of human mind, and how
Right.
we like to take advantage of each other
Right.
at every
At every
opportunity.
turn.
Um,
But I needed to read that. Like I needed to know that that existed in life because
right.
for me, I'm not from that world, so I
Hmm.
didn't think that people were negative or evil. So I needed to learn that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's so funny. I know exactly what you're talking about. Some people just they're they learn the hard way. Like, unfortunately, nice people get taken advantage of. I
Right.
wanted you mentioned when we set up this appointment that you had some exciting news. So I'm dying to hear, and I'm excited
Yes,
to
my
hear what's new in
I have
Wendy's
I
day.
have I have two really cool things. Give me 1 second. Can you book me a room for one of the smaller rooms for 2 o'clock? Um, I have the incubator that I mentioned, Artist-Centric, starting. So folks can follow artist_centric on Instagram and watch us as we grow, which is really exciting. It's like an incubator accelerator for artists. And then the second thing is I'm building out an educational website, and that's going to drop. That's going to drop probably at the end of Inspiration 2021. So anybody that's following Inspiration 2021 will be able to tune into that.
That's so dope. And so it's a full like a website. Is there going to
Full
be?
website to educate.
Are you looking to get in a web app in the future as well? I mean, a mobile app or something like that.
I don't. Well, you'll be able to pull up the website on mobile, but as of right now, it's just web based. It's not going to be an app.
Okay. And what was the website of that?
I
The
haven't set it
URL?
up yet. You're gonna
Oh,
have to
okay.
actually, yeah, you're gonna have to actually follow the
Oh, it
Inspiration
hasn't quite
2021.
launched yet.
Yes, it has not launched yet.
Awesome. And the Artist-Centric, the new incubator, is that going to be something that you're doing in Atlanta with the office space? And
Yes. Yes.
okay.
It's absolutely here in Atlanta. You don't have to be based in Atlanta,
Hmm.
but it would be easier because there's an educational component to it. A lot of it will be over Zoom, but it's always so much easier to do stuff in person. It's when you can actually participate in something, it makes it so much easier.
Yeah, you can vibe and kind of. It's communication is way more clear and concise.
Yes. Yeah.
Telepathic,
Yes.
I think.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to keep you too much. I know we had like around 45, 50 minutes set. Um, I just wanted to be respectful of your time. So if
Thank you,
you
love. I do
if
have
you
a
have
2 o'clock meeting today.
okay, absolutely. Um, I have absolutely enjoyed speaking with you, Wendy, and
Thank you.
it's been such an honor to sit with you and ask you all these
Thank you so much.
questions. And you have amazing stories, and the what you have going on right now with Artist-Centric, and
I'm so
it is
excited.
it's exciting. Yeah,
It
I'll be
is.
looking forward to it. I'll be checking out the website when it drops. Is there anything you want to tell our listeners before we wrap up?
The most important thing I can tell any artist or any independent artist that's relatively new is learn the business, like really learn how this works. Because so many people that interact with me, they either want to confirm that the way they think this works is how it works, and it's
Hmm.
not. You can't be on the outside looking in and think you understand. You can't watch Drake come up and think you understand how the music industry works. You really have to be inside of it. So learn as much as you can from the people that are inside. And there's so much free information out there. You can really do it affordably, almost for free, really, especially just on my site. But don't just go to my site. Like, go to everybody out there that has something to share, because everybody has valuable input as to how to build a career, and really learn how it works before you jump in with both feet. That way you won't waste money.
Yeah, well said. Thank you
Thank
so
you so much
much.
for doing this. Like, I love that. I know you don't get paid to do this. So I love that you're putting the time and the energy into doing this. It's so, so, so important. And I just can't thank you enough. And thank you for choosing to have me to be on your podcast. That's just awesome.
Absolutely, it's an honor to have you as a guest. And everyone can look up Wendy Day, the legendary Wendy Day, at Rap Coalition on Instagram,
Absolutely.
wendyday.com,
WendyDay.com, helpfulangel.com.
helpfulangel.com. You can find all the links from, I guess, from really wendyday.com.
WendyDay.com.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep. It links to
Well,
everything.
well, thank you
And we
again.
just redesigned it.
Sorry, you just what?
We just redesigned WendyDay.com.
Oh, sweet,
Yep.
sweet. Can't wait to check out the new website.
Yep. It should launch sometime next week.
Dope, dope.